everybody to our December meeting, the Clay County School Board. And go ahead and like to approve the agenda. There has been a change in there. Item number 5, we're going to take that off and move it to the January meeting. There's a recognition for WCU's Outstanding EC Student Teacher Award. So we're going to remove that and do that in January, if that's okay. So with that change to the agenda, I'll entertain a motion that we approve it otherwise as written.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Beck, second.
I second.
Mr. Caldwell, all in favor? Thank you. And any public comments yet? Somebody signed up? No? Okay. Very good. The next item on the agenda is swearing in of our newly elected or newly re-elected board members, Ms. Beck and Mr. Jones, and we have Judge Tessa Sellers here this evening, and she's going to perform the swearing in for us. So I'll turn that over to Ms. Tessa.
Okay, all right, and Ms. Beck, do you have somebody to assist you? Okay, and do you have a Bible?
No.
All right.
I have one, but I didn't read it.
I know that. I understand that, but I want to just do things. And Mr. Jones, you brought your own, is that right? And do you wish to be sworn in separately or at the same time?
Same time.
And do you wish to repeat every word that I say, or just say I do? All right. If you will place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. And raise your right. I state your name.
I do my best.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, so help me God.
I do.
I state your name.
I do my best.
Do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
I do.
I state your name.
I do my best.
Do swear that I will faithfully and truly, according to the best of my skill and ability, execute the duties of a member of the Clay County Board of Education in all things according to law, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So I'll need you both to sign your oath so that I can record things.
That's all I'm doing. I'm doing as much as I can.
I need you to sign up here for me. And sign up there for me. And I'll take those back to the clerk's office.
Do we have a pen that works really well? Okay.
And then I'll sign.
Okay, we'll do.
Yes, I'll do that right. Oh, thank you.
We are definitely honored that you would come
Well,
do this.
I was honored to be asked. Today is the 15th, not very long. I spoke with him yesterday, and he said, "Would you do this?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Thanks.
So thank you both. Congratulations. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll let
Yes,
you
sir.
proceed
Thank
with the
you.
rest of the meeting.
Appreciate you doing that for us.
Thank
Thank you. Good. And I apologize, I forgot to mention before Mr. Cole does the presentation that obviously he's attending tonight's meeting virtually. By order of the health department, he's been in quarantine, and so I apologize for failing to mention that at the start of the meeting. So Mr. Cole, we'll let you do the presentation on the Clay County Historical and Arts Council.
Thank you, Dr. Shuler. Just real quick, as part of the recognition section, does it sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. As part of the recognition section tonight, I wanted to recognize the work of the Clay County Historical and Art Council for providing arts programming so far this year for the cultural enlightenment of the students in Clay County schools. I wanted to give a special thanks to Mr. Mike Wiley, whose virtual program helped increase our understanding of diversity while helping our students develop writing skills. So far this year, the Arts Council, supported by the North Carolina Arts Council, has provided $9,000 worth of arts programming for our students. And we were so very appreciative of what they've been able to provide virtually during a really tough time when our students are even more isolated than they have been in the past. As I'm sure everyone at the table is aware, Ms. Rita Beck, one of our board members, who's been instrumental in this work as well, and I want to recognize her work with the Clay County Historical and Art Council as well. So I just wanted to publicly thank them. We're also going to be releasing a recognition badge on our webpage, and we released one through our Facebook account today to the county. So thanks again.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mr. Beck and the Clay County Historical and Arts Council for all that they do.
I'm honored. One of the things that I really appreciate being able to do, and that keeps me involved with the kids. And as I was just saying to Mr. Penland, I was able to go to a couple of classrooms this past week and actually see them as they participated in this program. And it was just absolutely wonderful because the teachers were the ones who were responsible for being the facilitators, and they were awesome. They were just absolutely wonderful, so energetic and just engaging the students in such a wonderful way, and they were able to get so much out of it. And that particular program, as Mr. Cole said, was designed for making the students aware of diversity, but also increasing writing skills. So it's an absolutely wonderful program, and I'm just so honored to be able to write those grants and be a part of getting that funding into the schools.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Next, we have a report from Mr. Adrian Jeffries on the new website and the Clay County Schools phone app for better communication. So appreciate Mr. Jeffries doing that, and all the other running around he was doing this afternoon. So appreciate you keeping everybody's technology up and going and getting Mr. Cole here for the Zoom meeting this evening. So
no, that's why I'm here. We're launching a new website and a new communication platform. We'll say with Leo. They're a website company. They also do a phone app. It's an app called Leo Engage, which will really increase our ability to be able to communicate with our teachers, with the parents and the students, all from one platform. And the platform looks pretty much like Facebook. So it'll be something that they're familiar with. But this is private facing, so it's tied to our Power School instance. So they have to have an account in Power School to be able to get the link, and that's how that works. So they only see what they need to see. They only see their kids' classes. If it's a teacher that also has kids, they'll see their classes plus their kids' stuff all in the same app. This will replace our 9101 and Class Dojo and all of our other apps that we currently that teachers use to communicate with parents. The biggest thing with that is those accounts are personal accounts. So the school, as from an admin side, we don't have access to those accounts without getting that information from the teacher. So from a management side, this is going to be much better for the school and put us in a much better position, security-wise and compliance-wise, to be able to do this. As you can see, it's got a built-in calendar, do the school calendar plus if you've got an appointment with the teacher, and these are all two-way communications. So one of the big things that this does is it live translates. So if they send it when they create the account and they say their primary language is Spanish, the teacher sends it in English, it'll translate it to Spanish. When the parent sends it back in Spanish, it'll translate it to English. So that would help with a lot of our kids and communication. The notification settings, those are pretty much like all of them. I mean, you can get however much information you want out of the app, and you can turn it off where you just get notified. But this will also allow us, like when we do our all calls, it can just push through the app. You know, also make phone calls if they choose to, but I see with this a lot of them be just using the app instead of the phone call. I know I'd rather just get a pop-up message on my phone than a phone call that you have to listen to. You can read it a lot faster. And like I said, it's two-way communication. Next, we'll talk about the new website. I'm going to run over here. So, this is the first rendering of the website. As you can see, this will change for sure. This will be Clay County Schools. And we're going to change this to the yellow jacket because you can't really see the seal. But as you can see, it's a lot cleaner. It's got the Facebook, we'll have the Twitter and the YouTube channel up there. Those are other changes that we've sent to them. The mission statement, this will be the seal here beside it. So we'll have a nice big picture of the seal on the front page. Got quick links here for Employment Connect and enrollment. There'll also be a fourth one that we're going to have added that will be school nutrition, so they can quickly get to those pages there for paying, adding money to your student's account, or seeing the lunch menu. There's a lot of people, that's what they use the website for, is to see what's for lunch. Recent news, this will just be whatever's going on. And the upcoming events, this will be synced with our Google Calendar. It's got the Facebook feed, it'll also have the Twitter and the YouTube channel all there beside each other. And this will be the video. I know Mr. Cole has been working with somebody on producing a video to go here about us. We've got definitely different information that goes here. That's just the placement. But we've got some things that'll change out here. Our motto, all students learning at high levels. You can't really see it on the screen, but there's like a picture behind it. Same way up here, you can't see it, but the yellow jacket is really faint in behind it. So on your computer, it's really nice feature. And then we've got just a calendar, employment, and email login at the bottom. So, does anybody have any questions about that?
Any ideas time frame as to when it'll be up fully functional? Is there?
We're looking at. We were shooting for the 1st of January. The salesman told us that would not be a problem. The subsequent engineers said there's a lot of salespeople doing that. They couldn't do it that quick. So we're looking at middle of January, somewhere like that, for the website. The app's a little different. One of the big things that we are going to need is we're going to have to make a real big push to get parent email addresses because this is tied to an email address in our school, so we're going to be really focusing on that at each of the schools from January and trying to reach out to that. A lot of people change their phone numbers really often. It's cheaper to buy a new phone than it is to add minutes to it, that kind of stuff. But they usually keep the same email address. So we're hoping that'll let us keep in contact with them a little better. At least that's the goal.
Thanks, Richard. Any other questions or comments?
Looks good, though.
Yeah, this would be nice. Thank you, Andrew, for doing that. Next report on the agenda is the North Carolina State Board of Education school-based mental health policy. There's some legislation changes. I think we have Ms. Emily Edmond and Ms. Quincy Patterson that are going to present on this. Front and center.
Never done this. So we're going to talk about the mental health policy. Should we take these off?
Kim.
Okay. I'll sit over here. This policy was passed in June of 2020. So every North Carolina public school has to. Okay. So the new policy requires that we implement this plan by July of 2021. So we have basically 6 months. However, thanks to you guys, a lot of it's already been taken care of with the school counselors being hired in each school and having social worker full-time hired in the county. And then our team now has grown. So that's really helped with part of this policy. But it also includes, and it's based off of actually the CDC whole school, whole community, whole child initiative. So you're looking at the whole child instead of just the education. You're looking at physical, mental, all health. And there's training that is involved, but also a suicide risk protocol, which we've got to start doing, and we will be starting actually in January, getting that started. But we have to follow, these are the topics that have to be covered. Youth mental health, and this is for all staff, not just counselors. So teachers, everyone that deals K-12 with children. So youth mental health, suicide prevention, substance abuse, sexual abuse prevention, sex trafficking prevention, and teenage dating violence. So in some of the trainings Angel has arranged, and we have had the youth mental health as well as the sex trafficking. So we have covered those things.
So what Clay County Schools has already accomplished, like Emily said, was we now have a full-time counselor in every single school. We have hired a social worker who is not grant-based anymore. She's hired through the school system. We have implemented a district student support team. We have purchased social emotional curriculum, which for K-8 is second step, and 9-12 is Suite 360. We have completed the sex trafficking training. Goals of the student support team endeavors are incorporated into the individual school improvement plans. We have collaborated with community members and stakeholders to address the needs of all of our students, and we've also participated in the resiliency training so far.
And during this time, how great and lucky we are to have school counselors in every school, because this year has been unprecedented. 2020 has been very trying for every kid. Every kid I'm dealing with in the middle school, anxiety, depression is just think through our team, I think it's really been beneficial for kids. So what our plans are next, our action steps to have this plan completed by July 2021. So we already meet monthly, and actually Quincy and I were sitting out there waiting, and it may be that we have to start meeting twice a month. I don't know, Mr. Cole, if you think that would be a good idea or not. But because there's so much to cover, even if we do it just with counselors, because all these things that we've got to get in place by then. But our team consists of all the counselors. So it's me, myself and Quincy, as well as Karen Nicholson in the high school, and Shay Rickett is in the primary. And then Terry Hager, which is the school social worker. Courtney Sumter is our school psychologist, and Melissa Chief is part of it because she's coming from the EC. I guess, I don't really know how to title behavior support. And then Heather Clemens sits on the team as the MTSS. And actually this plan also incorporates the MTSS, as Heather spoke on the last board meeting, because the way the tiers work is also addressing the behavior. So kids that really need support will have that. We can staff those kids through MTSS as well. So, you want to talk about this, Rena?
Yes. So we are looking at the DESA, which is a universal mental health screener, to identify kids who may need extra support, whether it be with counselors or social services or our school social worker. And so with that, we can identify kids using data and using research to help support them in the most efficient and effective way possible. Once those students are identified, they would go through like an MTSS process where we would do small group interventions, individual interventions, anything to help address the needs and reduce the barriers that they have to a successful education right now. We're also looking at the Mendez Foundation Too Good for Drugs and Alcohol to address the substance use and alcohol prevention part of this plan. And all of our students are provided with social and emotional lessons using the second step curriculum.
Yes, part of suicide risk, we are going to try using the Columbia Suicide Risk Assessment. K-12 is actually free, which is always great. So we're going to be looking at that, like I said, starting in January, but we have to start developing that. And then professional development. We're going to need it, as well as all the staff. So that's actually in our action steps, and find those professional development, anything that we need as counselors, as well as if the staff. And I know Angela does a lot with that, finding things and finding resources for us. And then I talked about MTSS. So, does anybody have any questions? Oh, and also our vision. Go ahead.
The vision of our student support team is to meet the needs of all students using a holistic approach, encompassing students and support at the school, home, and community level. That's what we want for all of our students, and we're always looking for ways to support and help our students achieve. So, and I really want to say thank you to our board for providing counselors. Even before we saw COVID happening, that was already in place, and I think it has really reduced some of the numbers of depression and anxiety, even though we are still seeing so much of it. So thank you for what you've done so far.
And with Mr. Gidry, he was hired in for, I guess soon it ends, I guess this week with him, but he's also helped it. And that's been a big thing, at least for the middle school, and he and I work together just on finding these kids, because there's some kids that have just disappeared. They're not doing their work, we can't get in touch with them, and now early intervention team is going to start back, which is going to address that attendance issue. Actually, our first meeting is tomorrow, so hopefully we can get more kids engaged, besides going and sitting down with them. You know, we're trying to do everything we can besides that. So, does anybody have any questions about the policy or what we're doing? No?
Members of the board, I did want to just say real quick that I am really proud of the members of the student support team and the work that they've done so far to try to come together as a team. You know, building a strong team is not the easiest thing in the world, and I think it's very, with counseling, just like being a teacher or even being a student, it's very easy for you to let yourself become isolated, and it's also very stressful to feel like you're solely responsible for the avalanche of responsibilities that come your way. I think it's very clear that COVID has created that as far as the mental health needs for students. And it's overwhelming as a counselor in the school building to feel like, you know, you're solely responsible for meeting the needs of 300 or more students by yourself. And so I personally know for a fact that it helps tremendously to have a team to lean on. And the collective impact of a team is always going to be stronger than the impact of one person. But that still doesn't make it easy. And but they've been working hard. I'm really proud of them.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
So our next report is Miss Melissa Godfrey, the elementary school I-Ready diagnostic data.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening. Thank you.
So this week, this past week and this week, we are in our second diagnostic window for I-Ready. And I know that all the schools are going to be reporting to you about our data, but we were close enough that I felt like I could go ahead and give you that and give you a synopsis of our data and break it up for you guys over the next couple of meetings. So I just want to kind of share, we do have a few kiddos that still need to take, but there's a lot of good news that I want to share with you about our I-Ready data and also talk to you about what our next steps are going to be as a school. So you guys can see there's two pyramids here, and the BOY stands for beginning of the year, MOY stands for the middle of the year. You can see that the BOY is kind of grayed out, and what we're focusing on is the one on the left. And so this is our overall assessment for reading in grades 3 through 5. You can see that we assessed 227 students so far out of a total of 240. There's lots of exciting things I want to point out to you. Of course, this is our kind of our MTSS triangle, and so the green indicates that students are on grade level. The yellow indicates that they're approaching grade level but have a few deficits. Our red are our students who are a year or more behind. So we're going to delve into that a little bit deeper, but I want to point out that you can see that our total of Tier 1, which are our on-grade level students, is now at 51%. And that has gone up from our beginning of the year, which was at 34%. And so that was a 17% increase. Of course, we want that red to shrink and we want that yellow to shrink. And overall, we shrunk that red section by 9%, and we shrunk that yellow section by 7%. And we grew our green section by 17%. And so I just wanted to kind of share with you both math and reading, and we're going to talk about it by grade level. But you're going to see a lot of exciting things and a lot of things that still indicate that we've got a lot of work to do. But I think it's really, really important in this day of COVID to really celebrate the positives. And there are definitely a lot to celebrate. I have watched since I arrived here in June and watched our teachers work so hard and deal with having students 2 days a week, at least initially. I've watched our kids work hard, and they're really moving in the right direction, and so I wanted you to see the snapshot of that. So we're going to go into this a little bit more.
This is the 5-level placement that already offers. And so, again, you've got a comparison from beginning of year to the middle of the year being the top line. And what I want you to notice about this is, on the last one, on the triangle, it breaks it down into green, yellow, and red. On this 5-level placement, it breaks it down to that green with the lines across it. Those kids are at mid-grade level or above. And then the green is just early on grade level. Then it goes to 1 grade level below, 2 grade levels below, or 3 grade levels or more below. And so, again, what you can see at the bottom are the total number of students. Keep in mind, this is for grades 3 through 5. But you can see that those red stripes has gone from 25 to 13. The reds have gone from 40 to 32. Our yellows have gone from 85 to 67. We have increased our green on grade level from 47 to 55. And then we have increased our mid or above grade level from 30 to 60. So I think in a short amount of time, with not having our students 5 days a week, this is pretty incredible progress. And so I wanted a chance to just kind of brag on our teachers and brag on our students and talk about what our plans are at Kaysville Elementary. So on the next slide, this is just by grade level. You can see here that we have only assessed 71 out of 79. So we do have some kiddos that still need to test in 3rd grade. But this is pretty incredible. If you look at that green, we have increased from 39% on grade level to 72% on grade level. And knowing that 3rd grade is that read to achieve year, where read to achieve culminates, I think that's really worth celebrating there. We have decreased our tier 3 students by 16% and decreased our tier 2 students by 17% in 3rd grade reading. So great job in 3rd grade. This provides the same data that I shared with you a minute ago about the 5-level placement. However, for this, it's just for 3rd grade reading. And again, you can see the trend of those last 3 columns, which are our yellows, our red, and then our red stripes. Those have all decreased. And then our green stripes have all increased since the beginning of the year. Taking a look at 4th grade reading, our tier 1 students have increased by 11%. We've decreased our tier 3 by 5% and our tier 2 by 5%. And you can also see this reflects all but 3 students having tested in 4th grade reading. We do have some kiddos who are quarantined or currently remote, and so those are the kiddos that we're still waiting on to test. But we have through Friday to get those done, but we have, with only 3 students remaining, I feel like this data is pretty accurate. The next slide is just the 5-level placement for 4th grade reading. Again, you can see a decrease in our reds and our yellows, and an increase in our greens and our striped greens. So definitely things are exciting there. In 5th grade reading, we've assessed 81 out of 83 kids. We have increased our tier 1 by 8% and decreased our tier 2 by 2% and our tier 3 by 6% in 5th grade reading. There's our 5-level placement there. Let's see there. So just, I want to share with you kind of some highlights, some takeaways from that, and also what our next steps are going to be. Overall, we have reduced our tier 3 students by 9% and our tier 2 students by 7%. I think this is really important because one of our goals as a district is to reduce the number of students we have in special education, and typically that group that's in the tier 3 are most at risk for needing to be in special education. So to have reduced that in reading by 9%, I think is a pretty good accomplishment. And on the flip side of that, our tier 1, our green on grade level for reading has increased by 17% overall. So definitely think that was great. Again, our 3rd grade has had a 33% increase in tier 1 from August to December. And so I'm really, really pleased about that. This next data point is one that I want to give a little background knowledge to. So in iReady, when they take their beginning of the year diagnostic, they give those students, and it depends on their grade and it depends on their placement level at the beginning of the year. They gives them a typical growth goal. And that typical growth goal is what we would hope they would attain by the end of the year. Then it also gives them a stretch goal, which is if they push really, really hard and work really hard, this is what they could meet. So for our reading, 48% of our students have already met their typical growth for the year. And so I think that is fantastic. And 20% have already met their stretch goal for the year. So those are kind of the highlights I wanted to mention, and then kind of some things that we're going to do to address what the data shows us that is still a need for us. We've been offering after-school tutoring in grades 3 and 4. That is money that we have left over from our summer jumpstart program that we've reserved to offer after-school tutoring in the fall. However, that money was limited to only offer after-school tutoring to 3rd and 4th graders. So we've been allotted an extra amount of money for after-school tutoring, but that money is not restricted in that we'll be able to also offer that to 5th graders, and so we're really excited about that. I was able to purchase some materials called Scholastic Short Reads. They're like one-page nonfiction documents that come in multiple sets so that teachers can do small groups to work on nonfiction reading support for comprehension. And they can do that pretty quickly and easily because it's just a one-pager, but it has the comprehension questions built in. And so those should be arriving soon. We talked about during our school improvement team plan that we would be implementing Foundations at 3rd grade. Currently, Foundations is a program that we use in Clay County for K2, but knowing that our 2nd graders didn't get to finish all of the Foundations program, and also knowing that we were pretty weak in phonics in our beginning of year diagnostic, we went ahead and purchased the grade 3 to kind of provide a transitional year between K2 and 3rd grade. Our counselor is going to provide academic advising for those kiddos that are not on track. So we set growth goals based on iReady. So I talked to you about iReady and how iReady sets a typical growth goal. What we did is half that goal, and we talked to our students about this is what we hope that you're going to score on this assessment, and try to really pump them up for those assessments. And like I said, 48% have already met their yearly goal for growth. But we're tracking those kiddos that did not meet their goal for MLI, and Ms. Quincy is going to work with them on providing kind of some academic advising for them. We also have purchased as a district with iReady, we're talking today about the assessment piece, but there's also a personalized instruction piece. And so it provides students kind of self-paced lessons based on their data and what the data says they're weak in. And we as principals and administrators can monitor the usage of that and make sure that they're getting the recommended time for that every week. So it's like 40 minutes. And so we're able to monitor that and make sure that they're getting those minutes in. And those can be done at school or at home. So we are going to continue to monitor that and make sure our students are using that. We've already begun having data team meetings with our teachers and our students. And I think that last piece is really important. We want our students to be able to articulate their data, to know what their data is saying about their academic progress, and be able to articulate that. We have them starting to do some digital graphing with their test results, just to kind of involve them in their own academic learning and progress. And the last is we're going to review our instructional strategies for remote learners. So, like I said, we have several remote students who haven't tested yet, so I didn't want to provide a face-to-face comparison with a remote comparison because I wanted to make sure it was accurate and fair. But many of the students who didn't meet their goals were our remote learners. And I don't think that that's because our teachers aren't providing quality remote instruction. But I do know that we are able to provide an atmosphere for testing that's hard to duplicate at home. And so we can talk to our students and have data chats with them and kind of cultivate that, how important this is, where at home that may be a little bit different in the home environment. But I don't want to put too much emphasis on that. I think we always need to reflect on how we're meeting the needs of our remote learners and reviewing our strategies that we're using for them to make sure that they're able to achieve the same growth as our face-to-face students. So that's reading in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions about reading before I go through now? Mr. Cole?
I'll just say, a lot of progress. I'm very proud of you and your team, and I'm blown away by 72% in third grade at this point. That's crazy good. So,
yeah.
hats off to you and your team.
I really could have waited till January to share this with you, but honestly, I think my team needs to know how proud I am of them. My kids need to know how proud I am of them, and I want you all to know that through all of this, that good things are happening, and our teachers are just adapting and making the best of it, and so are our kids. And I'm just, I'm too excited to hang on to this till January. So math is a little bit of a different story, but still lots to celebrate here. This will go a little quicker because I won't have to do as much explaining as we look at these. But we have assessed 222 of our 240 students. Again, you can see the 3-level placement. Our tier 1 has gone from 17% on grade level in math to 37%. So even though that 37% is not where we want it, that's a 20% increase on grade level skills. And so I think that's definitely worth celebrating. We've decreased our tier 3 students in math by 12%. So we were able to make more progress with our tier 3 students in math than we did in reading, which was at 9%. Our tier 2 has also decreased by 10% in math. So we're making good progress in math, but we still have a ways to go. This is the 5-level placement this is the whole school when you're looking at this. But you can see that our red stripes have gone from 23 to 11. Our reds have gone from 41 to 27. Our yellows have gone from 121 to 101. Our solid greens have gone from 24 to 51. And our green stripes, our above grade level students, have gone from 13 to 32. What I think is really interesting about this is it shows we're meeting the needs of our highest learners and our lowest learners. And I think that's really reassuring when you see every group improving and not just one or the other. So that's why I really like this view. I could talk for hours about data, but Mr. Cole won't give me that long. I do think it's important to see that all level learners are growing at this point. When we look at third grade math, we had a 20% increase in tier 1, a decrease in tier 2 of 13%, and a decrease in tier 3 by 7% in third grade. Again, we've assessed 70 of our 79 students, so there's a little room for that to change. Looking at the 5-level placement, you see that same pattern of those last 3 levels going down, which is what we hope for, and those first 2 levels going up. So our solid greens in third grade have gone from 9 to 17%, and our green stripes, those above grade level students, have gone from 4 to 16%. And on the other end of the spectrum, we're dropping in those as well. From 4% to 0% with our 2 grade levels below, we dropped from 19 to 16% in our solid reds. In 4th grade math, I don't know if you remember this from when Mr. Cole shared our IRA Diagnostic 1 data, but 4th grade math was probably, if not the lowest in the district, it was one of the lowest. And so this has definitely been an area that we have really been intent on looking at our data. Mr. Cole actually got to sit in on one of our data team meetings a couple of weeks ago and got to hear and see how we're using our data. But what I think is really exciting about this slide is not only have our 4th grade tier 1 students increased from 19 to 40%, which is 21% increase, but look at that tier 3. That tier 3 has reduced from 43% to 15%. There's been a 28% reduction in our reds in 4th grade. And so I just want to say hats off to our 4th grade math teachers who have worked really hard at reviewing their data and making sure they're making necessary adjustments to get the kids moving in the right direction. And keep in mind, again, that for some of these kids, they're not here at school at all. Some of our kids were only here 2 days a week for a while, and now we still only have 4 days a week. So I'm super, super pumped about that and the growth we've seen there. So this is just more of the same. You can see our red, solid reds and our red stripes reducing, and our greens and yellows improving. So 5th grade math has increased by 21% in greens. But one of my concerns about 5th grade math is that our tier 3 is still at 21%. So I think target. We didn't see any growth in our 5th grade tier 3 students, and we didn't improve there. So that's definitely an area that I feel like I'll work with our teachers to target moving forward. But what I think is really interesting on this slide, if you look at the change in tier 2, it was 61%, went to 40%. That was a 21% decrease, and that's also what we increased in tier 1. So it was just those tier 2 students moving to tier 1. There's our 5-level placement for 5th grade. And just our takeaways for math that I'll leave you with. Overall, we reduced our tier 3 students by 12%, our tier 2 students by 10%, and our green has increased by 20%. All 3 grade levels had a 20+ increase in tier 1. Again, we had a 28% reduction in tier 3 students in 4th grade math. In math, we have 29% of our students have already met their typical growth for the year, and 9% have already met their stretch growth. So some takeaways and concerns for our next steps is that overall we're less than 40% proficient in grade level overall in math. Only less than 40% of our students are on grade level. So that's definitely a concern. We want that number to be higher. I don't want to overshadow the growth our kids have shown, but that's definitely not something we need to overlook. So we're using the remaining part of our instructional supply funds to purchase math intervention materials, which will be used in the classroom. We're also going to be adding math to our after-school tutoring groups. Again, we're going to continue to work with our remote learners to make sure that we're reaching them in the same manner that we're reaching our face-to-face students, monitor usage of their personalized instruction in iReady, and continue with data chats with our teachers and our students, as well as academic advising with our counselor. So that's Diagnostic 2 in a nutshell. Y'all have any questions?
Not a question, but just, that's awesome. I mean, that's some impressive stuff, and
We're excited.
appreciate the hard work from you and your team, so.
I have a great team. I've been blessed.
That's awesome. So,
I love the way that the students are being involved in interpreting their data.
Yeah. It's been really rewarding so far, and I'm just looking forward to seeing that grow. Now that we have the Chromebooks, some of the things that we have with Chromebooks are a little bit easier to do in Google. Some of the Google tools are a little bit more user-friendly, and so that's going to allow us to do kind of digital data notebooks with our kids using Google Sheets, and so maybe I'll get to share that with you sometime.
any other questions or comments? Mr. Cole, anything you want to add, or?
I just wanted to say thank you. Impressive work, and a great presentation done in a way that I feel like we can all understand. So keep up the good work with your team, Melissa. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys
very
for your
much.
time.
Thank you, Scott. Next item is budget amendments, Michelle.
Okay, we have a few budget amendments this evening. If you'll turn to the State Public School Fund, we received an additional $153,618, and I have noted on the bottom, $53,239 is for approved ABC transfers for textbooks and digital resources. An additional $18,941 for EC coronavirus relief funds, and that's the Exceptional Children's Program. $76,730 as a transportation allotment adjustment. That's for efficiency rating and adjustments for our ADM. And then also an additional $44,708, and that was an additional allotment for home and community Wi-Fi for the coronavirus relief funds. I would also like to add, many of the coronavirus relief funds expire at the end of this month. We received, through our state allotments, a little over $231,000, and we have been able, working with the maintenance office, the school nurses, the Exceptional Children's Department, the IT department, and the schools and department heads, we have been able to exhaust nearly 100% of those funds. We don't plan on leaving any of that on the table, so before the end of the week, we hope to have the rest of it exhausted. Do you have any questions? The next one's for the capital outlay fund. I'm going ahead and, doing the budget amendment to, budget the $33,600 for the lottery funds that we pulled down for that, middle school gym roof. That project has been complete, so we need to get that budget on the books, for that invoice that has been processed. And then the next one's the special revenue fund, Fund 8. We received an additional $11,600 from Dogwood Grant, and that's for an after-school grant. And, correct me if I'm wrong, that's for the middle school, elementary, and primary school. Yes, yes. Do you have any questions? If there are none, we recommend approval.
So you heard the budget amendments from Ms. Hollingsworth. If there's not any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Mr. Jones, second.
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hollingsworth. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Under that consent agenda is the approval of the board meeting minutes from November the 23rd regular session meeting, and then the direct deposit pay policy, which will be a first read of that policy. So do you want to add anything or talk about that, or?
Just with the direct deposit policy, I'll just point out, it is much easier for our finance department, as small as it is, because our finance department is Ms. Hollingsworth and Ms. Julie Rogers, to be able to process payroll and just do it directly through direct deposit than to try to put checks to individual employees. 95+% of the school districts in our state have a direct deposit policy to pay. We do not have that on the books, and so I think it is a policy worth exploring. That's the reason why I added it as a first read for this month, so that the board could take a look at it and ask any questions and get feedback from anyone that cares to communicate with them, and we can talk about it again at our January meeting.
So again, that direct deposit pay policy is a first read. So if there's any questions or any other comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's read.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All well, second.
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, all in favor? Aye, thank you. And then I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session for personnel and negotiations.
The motion will go into closed session. Personnel.
Mr. Caldwell, all in favor? Thank you.